Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about the 7th commandment of egoless programming. So let's get into it. And the 7th commandment is the only true authority stems from knowledge, not from position. And I would say that in software development, that is absolutely true in pretty much every sense of the word. The only time I've ever seen someone ever try to use their position to get something done is at the previous company, where they basically put this person who knew a fraction of what the senior staff knew, and they tried to basically direct people in, and it completely blew up in their face. And I could not imagine a scenario where that wouldn't happen. And guys, I hope that we can agree that we developers, we kind of value within each other, apart from, of course, we are very sexy people, so I mean, looks is a factor always, but most of us value the intelligence of the other person that you're talking to. And that is pretty much universal. Every single, within any expert field, what matters is what you know. Because if you know, you can answer questions, and that is that is a big part of what gives you authority within an IT company. The person who knows the most about the domain is the person everybody goes to. It's the person that everybody wants to have in the meeting. It's the person everybody wants to ask for help and get their input and so forth. That individual is it's actually something I've said in other videos as well. That should be your primary focus when you start at a new company. You need to get to a point where you understand the domain. It's not about necessarily knowing all the tools. You don't have to be an expert in every tool that you use as part of your stack. What you should be an expert is how do all the features in your system work. If you get to be an expert of that, then you rule. You do rule. There is no one who's going to question you. Your PO is going to ask you for advice if you can answer all their questions, because they don't know. You have your fingers on the keyboard. You're the one who knows what the code looks like. That's why the stakeholders always come to you with this question. And I've said this before. The question is always the same: how long do you need? How long is this going to take? How long? They always want the time. And the only person who can answer that accurately is the person who knows the domain really intimately. No one I've ever talked to, I've dealt with, I used to work at a company where we had team leads who had a fraction of the experience of one or two of the senior developers. Now, the senior developers in this company, they have been in the game. They're still in the game for over 25 years. And as one specific programmer, he had, I think, 41% roughly of the commits within the entire system. There was no one at that company that knew more about the system itself. But there was also one other person, which was very interesting, which was she was not a coder, she was not a programmer. She started out as a educator actually for the company, and she became a tester, a QA, a quality assurance person after I think it was 19 years or something like that. She knew more about the ticketing system and how the company did business, and all these different things that was going on within the application, how all the business rules actually worked. These two people together made up a pool of knowledge that I will argue still could not have been replaced. They were critical for the survival of that company and that specific product. And it showed. I still remember that at one point this coder, he sat and had a conversation with one of the head people of the entire branch of that international company that I was working for. And he was just telling him, we need to do this and this and that. And they did listen to him. Like it's because no one knew more than he did. Same thing with this woman. If you had any questions, if you wanted to know anything about shipping your feature or how is this going to work, you needed to have her in the room because no one else knew how all of these things fitted together. And this is why, if you really want to improve your career, if you forget about all these weird YouTubers and people who tell you that, oh, these are 5 tips and tricks that you need to do in order to get into Google, or that 5 tips and tricks to get the promotion. Like, fuck all that stuff. Focus on learning the domain that you work with, because if you have the answers to all of these questions that people are asking, because that's most of what business is about. Your daily job is to answer questions and produce code, of course. If you can do that, people will notice, and you become completely invaluable to the company, and then you can use that if you wanted to actually progress your position. But I can promise you one thing that never works, and that is that you get a position which you are ill-equipped, let's just call it that, ill-equipped to hold. And I've seen that happen more than once. I've seen managers come and go because they basically, they sounded really great in the interview, then they come in and they do absolutely fuck all to improve any situation. And the team, they just kind of continue. To this day, I still haven't seen I've just seen a few, let's call it that, a few managers who've ever been able to hold their position, because usually they go in and then they go out again because they simply can't. They are not able to produce any tangible value, because that value comes from experience and knowledge and being able to use that effectively within the context that you find yourself. So what I want you to take away from this is that it is absolutely true that the only true authority comes from knowledge. If you want something to happen in an IT company, you always go to the person who knows the most. Always. It doesn't matter who you are. My CEO, head honcho at my company, comes to me and my team members and asks, can we build this? Because he doesn't know. And if whatever we tell him is going to be the truth, if we say it's going to take this amount of time or that amount of time, that will influence his decision then when he goes and talks to customers and so forth. It's a very big responsibility, and it's a critical role that software developers fill. You don't just write code, you need to know how things work. That's your job, to be the expert. And I promise you, if you have a little bit of personal charisma and if you have a few ambitions of your own, you can use that knowledge to your benefit, and you will be surprised at how fast you can progress up the ladder if that is what you want. What you don't want is to skip ahead up to a position where you simply are ill-equipped to deal with that situation. Because contrary to popular belief, not everybody is stupid. Many people can tell if you know what you're talking about or if you're just full of crap. Have a great day.